This is the part of Donkey Kong 64 that made me give up on the game. So if you've never played it, let me give you a bit of context. I loaded into the level as Dixie Kong. I see these buttons which only she can interact with. And behind this door, there's a trail of purple bananas that only she can pick up. So if you've played any game before or are interested in game design, you would look at this section of this level and say, okay, I'm going to open this door as Dixie Kong. I'm going to walk down this corridor as Dixie Kong to collect the purple bananas. And at the end of the tunnel, there will be something to do with Dixie Kong, maybe a mini game or a puzzle that is specific to Dixie Kong. But no, you walk down this tunnel after collecting the bananas that are specific to Dixie Kong, and you see a button and a door that Dixie Kong can't open. So then you have to turn around, find the nearest barrel, change to a different Kong, walk straight back down that corridor, and then open the door. And I know I've opened this video on a negative note, but this is my first time playing Donkey Kong 64. I'd never really interfaced or interacted with the game in any way, shape, or form before this. And as you can see from this channel, I love 3D platformers, from the most mediocre to the middling to the absolute cream of the crop. I just adore this genre. So going into Donkey Kong 64, yes, I had heard a couple of things about how it's kind of tedious and this, that, and the other, but I was genuinely excited to sit down and play this game. And it starts with a really strong impression because Rare really were at the top of their game in and around the N64. Like, I grew up and I had Diddy Kong and GoldenEye, and I absolutely adored them games. Now, GoldenEye nowadays, bit ropey on the controller, but Diddy Kong Racing holds up to this day, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And even though I'm not really a massive fan of the Donkey Kong Country series, I can still see that there is a lot of quality there. And that is one thing that is very clear while playing this game. The characters control really smoothly, the game looks really good, the music is fantastic, the ambience is just amazing, and they get all of that right. All the little jingles, all the little noises. It starts and you're in a very typical jungle, but then you go to a desert level and then you're underwater, which we'll get into later. And then there's a mushroom forest kind of thing. And they got that part really right. And it does leave a really strong first impression. And after my first play session, I was like, I think I understand this game. And I'm having a great time with it. So the basic premise of Donkey Kong 64, that you start as Donkey Kong and the other Kongs have been captured. You have to go around and free them, and then you can swap between them by going to a barrel. And they all have different abilities and different powers. Like Lanky Kong can run up hills. Diddy Kong has his jetpack so he can fly around. Dixie Kong has like a hover jump. And then they all have their own gun that shoots a certain projectile that is used to open a load of buttons. And they can only be opened by whatever symbol is on that button. And at the start, when you only have a couple of Kongs, the levels are fairly small. You can really keep track of where everything is, where you have been and where you haven't been. Then each Kong has 5 golden bananas that can only be collected as them Kongs. And then they have colored bananas that again can only be collected as the individual Kong. And then there's also colored coins that are used by upgrades and blueprints that are specific to killing a certain enemy that is color coded again to an individual Kong. And the first level or two, when you only have 1, 2, 3 Kongs, the game is really manageable. The levels are fun to explore, they're laid out really well, they have some good puzzles, and it's really easy to keep track of where everything is. Like, oh, I've been over there as Diddy Kong and I've collected all of the red bananas, so I know I don't need to go back over there. And then you see that part over there? I went there as Donkey Kong, I shot that door open, I got that banana, I bought the upgrade from Cranky Kong using them coins, and it's just a fun collectathon platformer. And that's how my first hour or two, maybe 3 hours of this game went. I was genuinely having a lot of fun, and when it clicked, it really clicked, and I was looking forward to sitting down and playing it again. But then you go through the levels and you collect more Kongs, and there's 5 Kongs in total, and Lanky Kong is my favorite because he runs around on his hands and he just looks really cool when he does it. He's really fun. I like his little noises he makes as well as he jumps around the world. He's just really endearing. I really like Lanky Kong, and this is my first time ever really interacting with him. But there is where the problem lies with Donkey Kong 64, because now, since I have all the Kongs unlocked, I can explore almost every single section of every single level. There might be a couple of power-ups that I need, but by and large, I can explore every single part of the level, which means I have to look out for 5 different types of colored bananas, all color-coded to an individual Kong, as well as the colored coins, which means you will go into a room and you will see a trail of purple bananas. So you will follow that trail as Dixie Kong, collect your 5 purple bananas, get into the next room, and then there will be 5 red coins. But there's no barrel in that room, the barrel's in the previous room. So then you have to turn around and walk back, jump into the barrel, swap to Diddy Kong, run back, collect the 5 red coins, And then you'll realize, oh, there's a ladder over there that has green bananas. Oh no, who's green? Oh, that's Chunky Kong. Let me walk back and change the Chunky Kong, walk back to the room, climb up the ladder, only to get 5 more bananas. Now, I think that's when the game is at its worst. And the part that really highlighted it for me is in that mushroom forest level. There is a section where you go into a big mushroom. And I don't have the specifics of where absolutely every single collectible was laid out and where every single collectible was. But this part of the level just highlighted everything that I hated about this game, and it was just that descent into absolute and pure tedium. Because you go in, and again, there's 5 bananas leading you this way that are green, and then there's 5 more bananas leading up a ladder that are green as well. But then when you get to the top of that ladder, there's a different color banana, so then you have to walk back down, go to the barrel, swap them out, climb back up the ladder, collect this, and then you have to walk out and jump in the barrel, and then you have to use each individual Kong to shoot a single button to unlock a barrel that launches you up the top. And that means you go to the barrel, you come out, you take your gun out, you shoot the button, you go back to the barrel, you swap to another Kong, and you have to do it 4 more times to be able to unlock the part that takes you up to the top. And then when you get up to the top, there's a chance you mightn't be the right Kong to collect the collectibles at the top. So then you have to somehow make your way back down, swap to whatever Kong that the collectibles required at the very top, jump back in the barrel, get launched up, collect them, and then you'll go outside and then you'll realize, oh crap, no, I actually need Donkey Kong now. So then you have to find another barrel and change to Donkey Kong to collect 15 more collectibles. And the thing is, when this game is working, I know I've just went on a big long rant, but when this game is working and you get a section that is almost dedicated to a singular Kong, it's actually quite fun because you get to run around for 5 or maybe even 10 minutes if you're really lucky as an individual Kong, and then you can just have fun, and it's a really solid 3D collectathon platform. But that doesn't happen very often, and I got to the end of the mushroom level, I beat the boss, I went to the next level door, and I needed, I think, 4 more golden bananas to unlock this. I believe the next level after that is the second last level. Probably means I'll need like 75 or 80 golden bananas to unlock the next level. And then if I am not mistaken, you need 100 golden bananas, so 50% of all the golden bananas to be able to fight the final boss. When I sat outside that boss door and I saw, oh crap, I need to get like 4 or 5 more golden bananas to open this door, I just looked at myself in the reflection of my Retroid pocket and I said, Adam, just don't do it to yourself, please. Just, you've played the game. You understand what makes Donkey Kong 64 tick. You understand that this game has something there in certain moments that makes it a genuinely fun 3D platformer. But in the next level, you're probably going to have to collect like 400 of the 500 colored bananas in the level, which means you will have to be extremely thorough with exploring the level, which means I will have to go back to that feckin' barrel again and swap out my Kongs 50 million other times to be able to collect the bananas. And that's Donkey Kong 64 in a nutshell. Now, I don't want to sit here and just crap on the game as I have. It still has bits that are genuinely fun, but what I wanted to dedicate this last section to is about what I think this game could have been. Like, if we go back to the clip I used at the start of the video, if you take that section that is very clearly, this is where we want you to be Dixie Kong to walk down this corridor, I think what they should have done is very clearly telegraphed that this section of the level is the Dixie Kong section, and this section of the level is the Lanky Kong section. So that if we go back to that clip, if I walk down that corridor as Dixie Kong that is very clearly laid out and designed to show me that Dixie Kong needs to go down this corridor, I get into the next section, and this is a place where I collect, let's just say for argument's sake, 80% of the Dixie Kong collectibles in the whole level. So then I know that once I get to that section, I will be able to play as Dixie Kong uninterrupted for 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long it takes me to collect them. And I'm not saying that it needs to be as rigid as that, but this is just a rough example. And then what you could do is, obviously I said that's where 80% of the Dixie Kong collectibles are. You could then have small sprinkled sections in other sections that are dedicated to Dixie Kong that make up the other 20%. And if we go back to that hypothetical imaginary Dixie Kong portion of the level, if there's 80% of the Dixie Kong collectibles there, you could fill 20% of that area with Lanky Kong collectibles. So then you have a small section where you play as Lanky Kong there, and that would have alleviated a lot of the problems with this game because you're not constantly swapping out. I do think another way to sort of fix this game, if it did ever get remastered or whatever, or even if there was just a recompilation of it on PC, if you could somehow code into the game a radial menu, or just being able to access the barrel at all times to be able to swap out to a Kong at your will without having to walk back to the barrel. Again, that would fix probably 50% of the problems with this game. It would still be tedious. You would still be swapping out, and you still will get interrupted a lot because you are constantly swapping out Kongs to collect 5 bananas here, 5 bananas there. So yeah, I was contemplating going out and buying this game on the N64 to play it on native hardware. It's actually not that expensive over here. I actually saw it at a retro market only yesterday for like, I think it was 25 or 30 euro. But I did play it on my Retroid Pocket, which did save me a lot of frustration because the slow moments I could speed up, and also I did use save states for some of the mini games that were really annoying me, because I don't want to just have this video of me just ranting about how annoying this game was. The mini games were really frustrating, or some of them were at the very least. I'll just leave it at that. And we'll leave Donkey Kong 64 in a corner. A game that has a lot of potential, that could have joined Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64 and Crash 3 and Spyro 2 as the upper tier of 3D platformers of this era. But unfortunately, it just isn't that it. It's a good game when it's working, but most of the time, it's just extremely tedious. Now, I've covered a load of 3D platformers, alright? And I can guarantee you will like this video. And if you don't, I don't know. Just go watch it, please. Thank you very much. Subscribe. Join channel members down below. I'm very good at selling this sort of stuff. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. The reason why I did this video is because Donkey Kong Bonanza is out next week, or whenever this video goes up. So I will do a video on that, because that is a game I am very, very excited for.